Hey guys, it's Sicko here, and today we are going to be reviewing the Razer DeathAdder V4 Pro. And full disclaimer, Razer did send this mouse to me for review. All opinions are my own, and as always, I will not hold back. The DeathAdder V4 Pro is exactly what the DeathAdder should have been a while ago. Razer reduced the weight, rebuilt the wireless system, and added an optical scroll wheel, but the shape is still the same. And it's either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. The Death Adder is still one of the most used mice among pro players, but popularity doesn't always mean it's the right choice for everyone. What matters is how it actually feels when you're playing for hours and trying to improve, right? So the real question is simple. Are these updates enough to justify $170, or is it just another safe iteration? And we're going to find out. First, we're going to talk about shape, grip, and weight. If you've ever held a Death Adder, you already understand the shape. Right handed, ergonomic, designed primarily for palm and relaxed claw. Nothing changed here, and honestly, that is 100% the right call. Some shapes just work. The Death Adder shape is one of them, and it has years of validation behind it. Personally, I gravitate towards smaller ambidextrous mice. That's what I naturally prefer. After a few hours with the V4 Pro, I do feel the size more than I would with something smaller. It's not uncomfortable, but fatigue shows up sooner and I need more breaks. The trade-off of full ergonomic mice, you gain support and stability, but you lose a little bit of flexibility. At 56 grams, this is the lightest full size Death Adder ever made. The weight difference compared to previous versions might not sound huge, but you feel it immediately in motion. Starting movements takes less effort, stopping feels easier, repositioning feels faster. The shape didn't need fixing, the weight did. Now for the clicks, buttons, and scroll wheel. The main clicks use Razer's Gen 4 optical switches. They're lighter than previous versions, but the feedback is sharper. Very clean actuation. No mush, no looseness, just consistent response every time you press. And optical switches also maintain their feel over time better than mechanical switches, which matters more than people realize. They're louder though, which is something to keep in mind if noise bothers you. Side buttons are positioned well and easy to reach without accidental presses. And the biggest upgrade here is the scroll wheel. Razer moved to an optical scroll wheel system instead of mechanical encoder. Mechanical scroll wheels eventually wear out or develop phantom inputs. Optical eliminates those problems entirely. The tactility is lighter than heavy mechanical wheels, but it feels precise and controlled. Every notch registers very cleanly. It feels different at first, but not worse, just more refined. Now, this is the part of the review that I enjoy talking about the most, which is aim feel. And I think this is where the Death Adder V4 Pro makes the most sense. The ergonomic shape anchors your palm, which creates a stable platform for your wrist and arm to move from. The stability translates into repeatable movements, and repeatability is what builds consistency in your aim over time. At 56 grams, the mouse moves quickly but doesn't feel weightless. Some ultralight mice can feel almost too effortless, especially when stopping, but the Death Adder keeps enough presence that you always feel in control of where your cursor ends. Micro adjustments feel predictable, tracking feels natural. Once you settle into the shape, your movements become very consistent. This mouse rewards low to medium sensitivity players who use their arm for primary movement and their wrist for corrections. people like me. If you rely mostly on fingertip grip or high sensitivity wrist aiming, the shape is going to feel restrictive instead of helpful. Error recovery is excellent on the DeathAdder V4 Pro. The lighter weight helps you snap back into position after a miss. The ergonomic leverage helps with fast corrections, and the sensor tracks perfectly with no instability. The lighter click force also helps during follow up shots. Less effort per click reduces fatigue during intense fights. In terms of fatigue in general, it's just really the size for me, but everything else is absolutely impeccable. The wireless connection feels completely transparent. When you move, the cursor responds immediately. Believe it or not, there's still mice with sensors that are just not so good. And, just to kind of close off, the mouse doesn't fight you, it does what you tell it to do. And that's exactly what you want. Now, this is not normally something I talk about with mice, but the dongle, I think, deserves a mention. This is easily the best dongle Razer has made so far, although I wish the color did match the mouse. Hopefully, they fix that in the future. It has real weight to it, so it stays planted on your desk instead of sliding around. The elevated antenna design improves signal stability, and the connection has been completely reliable in my testing. The LED indicators show battery level, connection status, and polling rate, which you can customize or disable. And it's a small detail, but thoughtful hardware design like this improves daily usability more than people expect, especially people like me, because I do want my dongle as close to my mouse as possible without it getting in the way. And I usually have the issue of it falling from my desk. But with this weighted dongle, that problem is gone completely. Now, for my personal experience with my three main games, which are Diablo 4, Valorant, and Call of Duty. For Diablo 4, this is where the mouse feels best. The ergonomic support reduces strain during long sessions, and since the game doesn't require aggressive flicking, the larger shape does become an advantage. I can play longer with less fatigue. For Valorant and Call of Duty, it's a different story. In faster FPS games, the size is more noticeable for me. The shape still provides stability and control, but because I prefer smaller mice, fatigue builds sooner during long sessions. Performance is excellent, but the larger ergonomic shell requires more effort to maintain intensity over time. So when I use this mouse for Valorant and Call of Duty, you could say that I'm more locked in. And because I'm more locked in, fatigue rises sooner because the mouse is just too big for me personally. And being locked in for a mouse of this size is quite tiring after some time. Now, who is this mouse for? The DeathAdder V4 Pro is for players who already know they like ergonomic shapes. If you've always liked the DeathAdder but wanted less weight, better wireless, more modern internals, this is exactly that. If you're coming from the V3 Pro, the upgrades are real but not mandatory. The V3 Pro is excellent. If you already own one and it works well, there's no urgency to upgrade. If you prefer symmetrical shapes or fingertip grip styles, something like the Viper V3 Pro is probably a better fit for you. And for the final verdict, the DeathAdder V4 Pro ultimately comes down to how much you value stability in your aim. The ergonomic shape locks your hand into a consistent position, which makes your movements more repeatable over time. Combined with the reduced weight and responsive clicks, it creates an aiming experience that feels controlled rather than effortless. You're not fighting the mouse or chasing your crosshair. You're guiding it with intention. If your goal is to build consistency and confidence in your aim, especially at low to medium sensitivities, the DeathAdder V4 Pro delivers exactly that. And if the shape fits your hand, it's one of the most reliable tools and one of the best mice you can have on your desk right now.